Okay. Very good. Welcome to the March 1st Board of Selectmen's meeting of 2023. Thank you. For those in the audience, emergency exits in the event that we need them, follow the fire marshal.
I'm usually running in.
Use the doorway to the audience left, my right, that goes up the rear stairway out to the rear parking lot, or down the hallway to the stairway that would put you out by the fire department building, or up the stairway behind the wall with the clock on it through the double doors and out the front will put you in front of the town hall. Any one of those three will work. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start on my right, down the end tonight.
Good evening, PJ Shanley.
Good evening, Judy Williams, and a special hello to Sarah.
And Denny, Secretary to the Board.
Good evening, Ralph Okenquist.
Good evening, John Carangelo.
Good evening, Mitch Goldblatt.
Okay. Public participation. Public participation is for any item that is not an agenda item. We allow up to 2 minutes per speaker on that. The state of Connecticut, they allow 3 minutes, and then they remind you that your time is running out to please finish up. We do 2 minutes, and we will continue to do 2 minutes. Thank you. Mr. Pisano, before you start,
Yes.
I'll remind you, it's 2 minutes.
Okay, he's got the
Number
bell.
one. And number two, you owe him an apology for your snide response to him ringing the bell last
Sorry,
week.
Ralph. Tom Paisano, 523 Ferry Road, Orange, Connecticut. I'm here for a couple of issues today. We did have a rough meeting last month, and some of our selectmen was taking a little heat. But a part of that is public participation. And public participation is not something that is arbitrarily closed. And unfortunately, our first selectman took a woman named Peggy Paisano, who happens to be my wife for 50 years, okay, and asked her not to speak. Okay, Peggy is, you may know her, Fire Marshal. She's a trainer for the police department for 30, 40 years. They get recertified every 3 years in sexual assault. So Peggy's done a lot for this town, let alone the fact she put up with my nonsense for 37 years. So that's an issue that we will visit, and we'll have many times to talk about public participation on that issue. The second thing I want to remind everybody is Vinny is in here today. Vin Marino, we're trying to get a hold of him. He is the town attorney. That's the town attorney for everybody, including the 500 people that are signing a petition, that we're going to use his help to see if we can get that thing rolling to a referendum. Vinny owes an answer back to our representation, and they are trying to communicate. So we'll be talking about that. The last issue is I do retain the right to speak again because there is an item of concern on the agenda, item number 3. So public participation on agenda items. I assume I will be allowed to speak?
It's an agenda item.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
Good evening, Dee Dee Liebloff, 660 Broadview Road, Orange. I need to admonish Mr. Zioli for his disgraceful and insulting conduct in refusing to allow Peggy Pisano to speak during the allotted time for public comments last selectman meeting. You owe her a public apology. Mitch, you were the only selectman who was critical of Mr. Zioli's actions, and I thank you for that. Mr. Zioli, you're an elected official. You serve the people of Orange.
Is there anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on. Anybody at the table? Announcements. We have memoriams this month for 2 people who volunteered a lot for the town and did a lot for the town over the years, of Betty Gagel and Anthony Nardecchia. One was 93, and the other one was 89, so long lived and long served the community, and well done. So our thoughts go out to the Gagels and Nardecchia families. Sunday, March 12th, daylight savings begins. Please remember, spring ahead and move your clocks ahead 1 hour. That's only in 11 more days. Doesn't seem possible, then it'll snow again. The Lions Club's annual Easter egg hunt at High Plains Community Center that we approved last month with Dr. Messina and George is Saturday, April 1st, with a rain date of April 8th. Games and activities begin at 11:30. The Easter Bunny arrives at 12:30, and the egg hunt begins at 1 p.m. This event is free of charge. Wednesday, April 5th is the beginning of Passover. Happy Passover to all those who celebrate. Friday, April 7th, all town offices are closed in observance of Good Friday. However, the transfer station is open, regular hours. And also, for those who've asked repeatedly, finally, the Park and Rec software for online signups should be up and running. They just finished their second training this past week on it, and it should be up and running hopefully within 2 weeks, but it should be available for some of the camp and summer programs. That's been a long process to get that implemented. They've implemented that, and I think they've improved their payment system as well, both over there and online, whether you choose to do it on the computer or in person at the office. So those are both improvements that we've been working on for quite a while, and they're finally coming to be. Minutes to consider. Oh, I asked. Go ahead.
Announcements. But yeah, I'll say it again. I'll say it next month as well. Shredding Day, April 22nd, hazardous waste disposal as well. And in response to last meeting, there will be some articles in the paper, hopefully an ad. I'm working with the Regional Water Authority to get an ad in that shows what is considered to be a hazardous waste for people to know. It's household hazardous waste, and we do have a meeting set up for early April to go through the logistics with Bob Britton and Donnie Foyer, as well as Lori Vitagliano and people from Clean Harbors. We'll be doing that as a run-through, as we did last time, so that everything hopefully is smooth. And also on April 22nd is our shredding day, our mattress collection, and our household goods collections, all at the community center from 9 to noon. It's Saturday, April 22nd.
And Bettina is in the audience tonight, which is an unusual appearance.
Hi,
but
Bettina.
I think if you probably get to her afterwards, you can, when we take break between
Yeah.
for the executive session.
So a press release was sent out to all the newspapers in the area concerning the overall event, and Ann has it as well up on the website. Thank you, Ann. But I'm trying to get some more information from Haz Waste, because I don't want to misspeak. I mean, it's easy to say household chemicals, things have been sitting around not being used, usually be underneath the cabinets of the kitchen or the sinks or down in the basement or out in the shed. Yep. Those are the type of things that'll be accepted, but I want to get a more definitive list to help people bring the right things and not bring the wrong things.
They had a standardized list that you
They did,
gave
but
out in
Lori
the
said it's been
past.
updated because there's certain things they don't take anymore and other things they've added. So trying to get that taken care of with them. So
All good.
we'll keep you posted. Thank you.
She's nodding in agreement over there. Okay, any other announcements? Seeing none. To consider an act on the minutes of the February 9th regular meeting of the Selectmen. Were there
So
any
moved.
errors, omissions, or corrections? If so, is there a motion? I hear a
Motion to
motion.
accept.
February 8th, Jim.
That's what I said, didn't I? February 8th. Oh, February 8th meeting.
Make sure you get the right one.
I missed the one on the 9th. Any other thoughts on it? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Unanimous. All right, next thing under new business is to consider and act on the request from Fire Marshal Vincent to waive the bid process to go use the state bid list for a fire marshal vehicle. They have one that is still operating but poor condition. So he came, and I believe he got this today. Did they get this information?
Yeah, I mean, Ann told me to send it last week, and unfortunately,
Okay.
I did the all famous forgot the attachment.
That happened. So, Fire Marshal Vincent, would you like to explain your situation?
Yeah, before I do, just to make a point really quick, First Selectman Zilli made a comment about daylight savings time. That's also a great time to change your batteries and your smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. If any residents don't want to climb up on a ladder and do that, we will be more than happy to come out and do it for them. As long as they have the batteries, we'll come out and do it. If you have an old smoke alarm that needs to get replaced, we've got them. We'll put them in for you for free. So just keep that in mind as daylight savings comes around. So
Not everybody is always sure of what type of batteries they have in them. Some are the little 9 volts, some are the
yeah, the
2
double
A's.
A's, yep,
So do you bring batteries with you just in case
we do.
you have a little bit of an assortment?
Yep.
If they're not sure.
We come
what it is?
prepared.
Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
So in the attachment that got sent out, you'll see an invoice from the Public Works Department. In short, 3 weeks ago, we sent in our 2013 Ford Expedition in for an oil change. I got a phone call from the service shop foreman saying, come please take a look at this car. While I was up on the lift, everything underneath the car has been rotted out. If you drive by the firehouse, the thing looks like it's brand new, but unfortunately everything from the bottom side up is gone. And the concern is that the frame is rotted to the point where if whoever's driving it gets hit, it could be catastrophic because it would impact the fuel tank, and it's getting worse as the days go by. Having said that, I spoke with both the First Selectman and the Finance Director and said this is our situation. I was directed to go out and get prices, and because we were able to go out and get the price off the state bid list, it is guaranteed the lowest price because it's this price that the state uses to purchase their fleet vehicles, as well as the equipment. It's important to note that this vehicle is going to be it would be a 2023 vehicle, and it's coming in $2,200 more than a 2000 Ford Explorer that we got 3 years ago. So we're not asking for frills. We're just asking for what we need. No special bells and whistles. So
I don't ever recall this, the state bid, you never quite know who it is, but usually it's been one of two in the past. I've never heard of this company before. Mrs. Guilford dealt with them or anybody? I've never heard of this one.
So Northwest Hills is where we bought the last 2 cars for the fire marshal's office. The one prior to that was MHQ, which is out of Meriden,
Yeah.
and they do not have vehicles. So we
don't?
bought
Okay.
the Explorer from them. It was a knee-jerk reaction because it was the only one that we could find within the Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts area. So we are looking to replace the Expedition with a Tahoe, much like the one that I've been issued. This one's going to go to the deputy fire marshal because he is currently driving that Explorer, and his Explorer would go down to our inspectors. So we have dealt with them at least twice before.
And the old Expedition would go to auction.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Vincent Mitch?
So if I just heard that last part right, the vehicle that's no longer being used, that's the one that's going to go to auction? Or you're moving something down?
So we're going to be taking the deputy fire marshal's vehicle and moving that down to the inspectors. That's a 2020 Explorer.
Yep.
He would get the new vehicle, and the 2012 Expedition would go to auction, the one that's in disrepair.
Okay. So this isn't your car then? This is just...
No.
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
going to go to the deputy fire
This
marshal.
is the inspector vehicle.
So next question is, was this ever brought up as part of the capital for this year's budget? I mean, if it was in that bad disrepair, we didn't know that 6 months ago, a year ago?
We had no idea. So our vehicles, we don't put a lot of miles on. So by the time it comes into the shop, it was probably 6 months ago since its last oil change. Whether they noted it then or not, I knew that there was body issues.
Yeah.
The rocker panels on the passenger side were starting to rot out, but we can live with rotted rocker panels. It was when we noticed the frame was basically corroded from the bottom up,
Okay.
that they said it's got to get replaced.
And Jim, where's the money coming from for this particular?
Probably from the capital line item, I'm going to guess, no?
Coming out of the current budget, some line items that I have savings on.
Okay. So it's within the current budget.
Yeah.
Finance has already approved the appropriation subject to your approval.
Okay. And the last question is, then this probably goes to you, John, and Vinny's not here, that's why I'm turning to John. He may not know the answer. I thought that if a expenditure, believe me, Jamie, I'm not against this, I just want to make sure we get the process right. I thought if an expenditure was over $20,000 that hadn't been budgeted, that technically had to go to a town meeting. We've had that issue in the past. Okay.
Mitch, I know that the Explorer that we purchased 3 years ago
Yeah.
was purchased the same way. We had an Expedition, the '06 Expedition that we had.
Yep.
It went in for, to have the computer mount replaced, and when they lifted it up to unbolt the computer mount, they found the same issue, and it was approved the same way.
Okay. Either Jim or John, I'm going to vote for this, but if you could just look into, because I thought we had a procedural
I
issue.
think you don't have to for these capital purchases if
Okay.
they're covered within the current budget.
You may be right.
Because they don't have to go out to bid for that since you're waiving that by going to the state bid list.
I'm not worried about the bidding, I'm worried about just our own
Policy, yeah.
charter revisions. stuff
I
like
seem
that.
to remember a couple times when I was on the Board of Finance approving a vehicle.
Purchases.
Yeah.
Car, police
You were
car.
on it when we did the
Yeah.
Explorer.
Yeah, and police
that's
cars,
right,
too.
yeah, for both police and fire.
Okay. All right.
All right?
Yep.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Well, is there a motion to approve? Ralph made, John second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous.
I can give you the
Well,
total.
it's- you could
I
just
think,
go off.
what was approved?
Whatever that is.
54,000? Oh, yeah.
It may be
Yeah,
bells.
it'll glow, trust me,
They'll have
but
a-
we're
they'll
not
have a rope-
asking for anything
A rope
extravagant.
that goes through the whole firewall. To consider and act on the
Thank you.
increase, okay, Jamie. Consider and act, to consider and act on the increase in custodial rates upon ratification of the 22 to 25 UPSU Local 424, Unit 21 Town Hall Employees Contract. This was requested by Mr. Cifarelli, and that's the contract that is in executive session later.
We did this 3 years ago with the ratification of their contract then, and we're here again. I think I gave you the backup of how we came to the numbers for the different years, and it's done the same way we did it before. I don't think we have a lot of people actually paying the custodial rates because the custodians are there with that,
Well,
and
there are
they're there during the
groups.
week. So
Yeah.
it's only on Saturday and Sunday, and it's probably for swim meets most of the time, I would think.
I'm not even sure. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, questions for John on this one? No? Mitch has some.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve
Oh,
the
all right.
the increased custodial rates upon ratification of the 22-25 UPSU Local 424, Unit 21, Orange Town Hall Employees Contract.
Take a breath in the middle of that.
Yeah. It's so long.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, unanimous.
Thank you.
Or she take the tax collectors. Are you, you might, you might be between us. That might be. All right, item number 3 is to consider and act on request from Fred Wolf Park Committee to retain a consultant for a traffic safety study. Mr. Carangelo?
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Carangelo, and I'm here in the capacity as the chairman of the Fred Wolf Park Committee. The Fred Wolf Park Committee has met a few times. At our last meeting, we decided that we felt it was important that the town retain a consultant to study the traffic and safety of Fred Wolf Park. To the current existing playscape location, the fields, the roads to and from the park. I know that our committee unanimously voted on this in support of it. Keep in mind, this is just one of hopefully many things that we're going to be presenting to this board and to the town so that the park is a place where our residents can go and feel safe and comfortable and enjoy the use of it. So I'm here to answer any questions, but, you know, I asked this board to allow us the ability to do that so that we can get this thing going. Just briefly, you know, as you know, the first selectman appointed a committee to sort of study the future of the park and the use of the park so that the residents of this town can have something that they appreciate, enjoy, and use. It is a big area, and there's soccer fields, there's lacrosse fields. There's a lot of opportunities there that the committee would like to discuss with you in the future. But right now, because the park is being used by a lot of people, we felt it imperative that a consultant be retained for traffic and safety for the people that use it right now. And that's where I'm at, and I'm asking this board to allow us that ability to do that. And candidly, I don't know if it needs to go out to bid, if it needs something that we can vote on and just retain somebody. But that's where this committee is right now, and we'd like your support.
Professional services don't have to go out to bid. However, you could go two ways. You could just find somebody that, you entertain that does this type of work. And if they got a good history behind them, you could go that way. Or you could put out a, RFQ on it, but you're not required to bid it since it's professional services. But you have two directions you could go on that.
Well, I mean, again, we would leave it up to this board to make that determination. We don't care either way, to be candidly with you. I just think that it's something that's important that we start this process sooner than later.
That's fine. All right. I know Mr. Pisano wants to talk because he had said it.
Mitch wanted to say something first.
Mitch?
Oh, Mitch?
Yeah, I have several questions, John, if I can. First of all, I'm in favor of getting this consultant, but I do have a couple of procedural questions between you and Jim, I think. The first being just piggybacking on what was just said, I think the best thing to do would be to go out for RFQ because you'll probably get several consultants with different ideas, and I think it'd be good to look at it from that standpoint because this may be the consultant you end up using for down the road. So you want to be comfortable with who that is to get started on this project. That's my personal recommendation. But Jim, the committee struggled. I was at their meeting, and they struggled with the chicken and egg here. Do they get bids first or get a quote first and then come to the board with an amount and a proposal, or do they do what they're doing tonight? And so the reason I'm asking that, and I said already I will support this, we're really being asked for a blank check. And I understand, I trust PJ and John who serve on this committee and the rest of the committee members. We have no idea at this moment what this is going to cost, which I'm leading to is eventually this committee is going to come back to us with a request for probably an overall plan such as the one that was done 10 years ago for Fred Wolf Park. I think they would need some direction from us, from you, as to whether they do it this way or whether they have the ability, the authority as a committee to go out and get some proposals, get some pricing, and then come to the board and say, hey, we've done this and we want the board to approve XYZ company for X thousands of dollars to do an overall study. So I think it's important.
That's where I think.
So I think this committee has that authority. I'm just not sure they know they have it. And I need your, maybe Vinnie's, and the collective board's opinion so that they have more direction on what to do coming forward. Because I think it'd be better if they're able to do all that legwork. Then when they get to us, as a board of selectmen, this is who we recommend, this is what's going to cost, and the day we vote on it, they're going. They're on the move.
Well, and I think my thoughts are similar to you, and I think the two chairs here, our thoughts are similar. What I would probably do is put that request together and put it for the safety piece, design or ideas piece and all, and see, kind of do it kind of in an à la carte fashion, and you may then choose one firm to do the whole process, but this way, then you know, well, right now for us, they're doing this, and they're gonna start on this, but then you can come to the Board of Selectmen with kind of a whole number.
Well, Jim, I don't,
that-
excuse me,
that
I
you're
don't, I
gonna
don't,
need.
I don't want to hold them up on getting, this is
No,
important to get this part
I don't think you're holding
started.
it up, but I think you need to know what the companies that they're gonna use are capable of
That's true.
that they're looking at.
And I think-
I think most of them that do, I think they'll be able to find that as they, I don't know, do you have anybody in mind already? Has
No.
anybody thrown anybody at you? I think you're going to find as you do this that there are firms that, you know, it's kind of like when they apply, we've all seen like zoning meetings. The traffic specialist will get up, the land use specialist will get up, the engineer that for the building or whatever will get up. A lot of these firms, I think, have that type of depth where they have different people that are going to perform the different duties. I have no trouble with this part, but I think the whole thing, you may get somebody, a firm that does the whole thing. I would not be surprised if, you know, you get a proposal to do the whole process when you go out just for this part. I think you're going to find design companies, engineering companies, landscape architecture companies that offer the full service from one side to the other. I don't have any money or anybody in sight at the moment,
We didn't ask for
On
money
it.
yet.
so.
We didn't ask.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, but that's my thought on it. I think Mitch and I are kind of, I
Yeah.
think you want to have an idea of where you're, you know, going with that.
I think it's almost like a two-phase process where we just want to make sure the existing, everything right now is safe. And do we need to act sooner rather than later, speed bumps or whatever, signs? Also looking at the expansion opportunities that we have. So I think you're right, you know, the bigger picture as well, but looking at the immediate needs of the facility.
And so just to clarify then, John, this request of the board tonight, I see the word existing playscape fields and roads to and from the park. So what you're looking at is what's there right now and how to best address the traffic flow. You're not looking to start, I mean, you will eventually, looking for potential other ways to egress or ingress the park or other things. We're just looking at what's there now and how to make it safe.
That's
Make sure it's safe.
exactly the case, Mitch.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to make sure what we have is safe, and that would be our plan of attack. Yeah, to start there, and then, I mean, we were fortunate enough to have, and thanks to Mr. Cap, he brought us around the entire Fred Wolf Park. The committee met over there, and he drove us around. Showed us different things. It's a vast entity, and there's a lot of potential of things that we can do.
Good.
But the committee unanimously felt that right now, the immediate need was to address what we have there.
Okay.
We know where the playscape's going. We know where the fields are currently. That doesn't mean that's not going to expand, but we need to be able to address that so the residents feel comfortable when they're there.
I think if you contacted, we use our representative here is a woman named Corby, who's our Town of Orange's representative with CCM,
Yeah.
Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, and they run a trade show every year in the fall. And at that trade show, there are tons of everything, whether it be road builders or engineers or every kind of service, accounting and financial, medical, everything under the sun. But Ann she can forward you Corby's contact, and then if you talk to her and say, we're looking for this. She can probably give you the referrals of who
Yeah.
participated in their trade show.
Jim, I've got I was there, the last one,
Yeah.
and I was talking to PJ about this before when he asked, we don't know where to start. I said, I've got a bunch of names because I have the program that I can give to you guys. You can sift through it and see, this one's a traffic engineer, this one's a landscape architect.
Yep.
The problem is, as Jim said, you're going to want, not for this part of it. This part of it, you'll find just a traffic engineer. But for the whole thing, eventually, you probably want to find somebody who's got a fairly larger firm that's got all those
Yeah,
pieces
the
that
different parts.
Jim talked about. But yeah, I skimmed through it after one of your meetings, and I found there's got to be at least half a dozen names to start with.
Oh, at
In
least.
there.
There were
Yeah.
so many of them. They're all looking for work. And quite honestly, there's a couple that have done work for the town in the past that both Mr. Britton and myself and some other departments have had some bad results with. So, we could share that with you also. But if Mitch has the flyer, I mean, I don't save them, and Ann gives you the information to contact Corby out at CCM, they can provide you with, half a dozen tomorrow.
Good.
Of, potentials for that,
Well,
if that's what you're looking for.
Sure. Well, this board has a wealth of knowledge, and, we're leaning on you to advise us of who you might recommend. And if you give us a list of names, we have no problem doing the legwork
Well, that's-
to do it. So we just didn't want it, because, I've gone through the internet, and there's a lot of companies.
Oh,
and I have
yeah.
no idea what would be appropriate under these circumstances. So that's why we came here to ask you to narrow it down for us.
I would be inclined to go with CCM because
Okay.
they vet a lot of their vendors. They are vendors that they've had, I think out of the 169 towns and cities, I think they represent like 120. Are they that much now? I mean, so there's a lot of communities have used these people, and they get feedback on this. So they kind of vet them, and then, they're in their trade show and all, and those are people that know what CCM is. So, I think that's probably a good way for you a very easy way for you to look. They work for us, being the town, and they will get you information. I'm sure either she or whoever within their umbrella will get you whatever information you need.
Okay.
That's where I would say, personally, to look for people that do municipal work.
Right, okay.
All right?
We appreciate any guidance. I think Mitch had a few more questions before.
Just a quick then, the motion for tonight then is to allow them, do we have to put a dollar value on this? Because I don't want them to have to come back to us with a quote, and I want this, personally, I like to see this just move. Because.
I have no idea what it could cost. I mean, you know what? They can research this. We can do
Specialist.
we can do a meeting by email. It will be a quorum. I mean, if you come back with, your group met, here's what we're looking at, here's the price, the email will go out, Ann sends the
I don't think we
email
can do that,
out.
Jim. I don't think Vinnie would
That's a-
advise us to do an email, because then you're not allowing any public participation, even the public to listen. So I think, especially if we vote, so I think we need even you can do by phone, but you just, somebody to be able to dial in or Zoom. But I think, are you adverse to giving them, I hate to say it this way, a blank check, but to give them the authority to just go ahead and do it for this? I like this, because spring is coming pretty soon. And I think,
Well, why don't they start, search, find somebody, get a price,
okay,
and, let me know how much the price is. We'll have to talk with John about it.
Gotta go before the Board of Finance. After you vote, they
Okay.
gotta allocate the money.
okay.
And then I can't speak for them, but they're not gonna give you a blank check. They're gonna ask either up to some
Yep,
amount
right.
or the exact amount.
See, so I don't have that
Okay.
answer then. So, if we had to, we could have a special meeting. I mean, it would be It could be a very quick meeting, or you could do it as a Zoom. We could set it up as a Zoom if you wanted, either
All right.
way.
Then I'm going to make a motion that we allow the Fred Wolf Park Committee to retain a consultant for a traffic and safety study at the park to come back to us with proposal. I don't know how you want me to phrase this. I want to give them.
To
I think,
identify a consultant, and the board secretary will arrange a special meeting, whether, to be determined whether in public or Zoom, at the first available date or something along that line.
after able to get.
And once they identify who they want to use.
Well, who and approximate cost.
Oh,
because
yeah,
John
no,
says
that's,
either go.
that's the reason
Yeah.
for having it,
All
yeah,
right.
because you have to have the cost.
All right.
Otherwise, you're still at square one,
Okay.
all right? So,
How do you want that motion to read?
Ann, did you write that?
is so moved.
Yeah, so moved.
All right, we have a
Cool, Mr.
question down there, come on up. Oh, second, is there a second for discussion purposes?
I'll
Thank you.
second, and then-
Okay, all right.
Jomo Nichols, Hitchin Post Drive. I just have a question as to what the traffic study is really for and what's it trying to accomplish. Is it for current conditions or future conditions? So it's for both. But so a traffic study is one part of an engineering design. So are we trying to figure out if the layout that I guess was proposed for Fred Wolf is ideal, or are we trying to use the traffic study to determine the layout?
No, I think that the discussion the committee had was based on the concerns of the residents that have appeared before this board and have also raised concerns about the existing conditions at Fred Wolf Park. We know that a playscape is in the process of being assembled, and I know a few mothers came up here and said that they were worried about a kid running to the playscape. So I think that it's essential that we address those immediate concerns, but ideally, we want to have a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 type study so that this park can be used for all of the residents for futures to come. So they don't have to go to Milford or other locations. We really, just in the first meeting alone, we came up with, 10, 15 different items of things that would be wonderful, but we of the opinion that it just can't all be done immediately. So we felt, based upon the discussions with the public, that immediacy is now. So let's get somebody in there to see how many cars come in and out of there. What can be done to assure the surrounding area around the playscape as far as crosswalks or other additional sidewalks or different things, curbing. There's lots of things that can be done. I'm just not a professional to tell you one way or the other.
Right, but this is exactly what happens when you mishmash something, you end up with this, because it just seemed to me we kind of said we're putting a playscape area here and it's a non-starter in terms of moving it, and now we want to do a traffic study, which a traffic study comes first in terms of a design overall layout of something you're building. You don't decide that you're going to put it here and then later on say, we want to do a traffic study to see if it's safe. The traffic study is done by the consultant engineer, the company who's going to lay out the overall what Fred Wolf looks like. It's not, let's put some stuff here and then let's ask for a traffic study. And is the traffic study just for Fred Wolf, or does it include future entrance, exits of Fred Wolf?
So, okay,
Yeah, go ahead.
people have been complaining about traffic parking at that area for a long time. So maybe this is a long time coming, but the study needs to be done now, regardless of the playscape going in, to make it safe for the whole thing. And again, we have said that not only are we looking at the existing facility, but the possibility for expansion. So we're taking everything under consideration with this study.
And one of the things, do we have something that resembles an overall layout of Fred Wolf Park? Would it be what it looks like now, or what it's possibly going to look like in the future?
Not the future yet,
Yeah.
but we will.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to conduct a traffic study with none of those things.
That's why I said they really need a firm that offers the different
So you're, it's the
expertises.
same, if you're looking to do this, you need a consultant firm that's going to lay out, would it be environmental issues, traffic, drainage, all of those things need to be put together. You're not just going to go and ask someone to give you a traffic study, because a traffic study in itself doesn't solve anything.
I disagree.
Is this traffic study going to take into consideration the fact that we've tried to put 2 soccer fields in the middle of an entrance that goes to the back that traffic is running through towards the lacrosse field? Is the traffic study going to consider moving things around where there's a new entrance going to be on, I forgot the name of that street over there? Is the traffic study just going to consider vehicles coming in off of Hollow Street, parking and exiting?
I think they're going to look at all of that.
They're
right?
going to look at all of it.
That's what I
That's what-
think, because they're going to look, they're supposed to be getting somebody to look at all of that.
Right, and is the traffic studies going to be used to determine in the end where everything goes at Fred Wolf Park?
They would probably, the engineering, design, whatever type of firm it is, would probably be determining that. They're going to give them an idea, and then they can decide what gets done when.
Right, it's kind of like, so we're deciding to put things here, put this here, put this here, put that here, and then later on we're coming and asking for a traffic study to figure out where we should put those things, even though we already decided that we're going to put them there.
So do you recommend that we just expand and don't do the study at all?
No, I'm just saying it's almost, this is what happens when you just decide to put things all over the place without an overall plan as to how you want to do it.
Well, my understanding is there was a plan. The Orange Park and Rec had a plan. And part of that plan was implemented. Now we have additional things going on that we need to address. And like Mr. Shanley said, we got to start somewhere. And the committee's task was to discuss the future growth of Fred Wolf Park. And what better way to do is to reach out to a consultant to have this conversation about traffic, safety, fields where they are now, fields where we may have them in the future. I mean, obviously, we're going to look into a consultant that can give us those answers. But we got to start somewhere.
Well,
And where we're
glad you-
starting is just, where we're starting is the safety of the kids. I mean, is there a better place to start than that?
Well,
That's
I'm
what we're
glad
trying to do.
I'm glad we're trying to do it now, but what I'm just saying is that
Well, I can't do
we
it 3
decide
weeks
to do
ago.
it after we decide that we're going to put a playground here, after we decide we're going to add 2 small soccer fields here, after we decide to put a road between the 2 soccer fields to go in the back to lacrosse. We've decided now that we want to do a traffic safety study, and we're talking about giving it to this consultant and then do something else over here. When all those things go together, a traffic safety determines the layout of a new park that you're designing. It's an important part of the design of the park itself. It's not something you do afterwards to say, well, let's do a traffic study to figure out how we want to do something there. It's
Well,
an
that's-
important
that-
piece of the
but
overall
this piece
layout
has
of Fred Wolf Park.
been evolving over 20-plus years, so that's unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to call it, that's how it's got to go. Mitch?
I was going to say with the speaker, Jomo, you bring out a good point that I think that unfortunately, some of what you say is probably true. We've put something here, we put something there, and now we're looking at it and saying, is it safe? Maybe in hindsight, it could have been done ahead of time before we did any of this. But John and PJ, I'm a little confused because my understanding of what you were asking for tonight was looking at the existing situation and making sure the existing traffic flow, if you will, to the soccer fields, the lacrosse field, the new playground was going to be, if not safe the way it is, what signage, what speed humps, whatever we have to do to make sure it's safe. I would personally see then the second phase of this be an overall study of the rest of the entire park, which would include possibly additional entrances or egresses, possibly additional soccer fields, possibly additional basketball, bathrooms, everything we've talked about would be part of a second phase. I think if you get into, because PJ mentioned, future roads, I think if you get into trying to design the road without knowing what the rest of it's going to be, it's too early, and I think it's going to bog down getting the safety of what we need to do today if you start looking at additional entrances and exits until you know what the overall is. So my understanding was that this was looking at the existing situation, make sure it's safe, and then next step is to get either separate or same consultant to do an overall master plan as was done by Fuss and O'Neill about 10 years ago.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay. Again, we asked to be able to consult, to retain a consultant. This board recommended, hey, when you're talking to these consultants, make sure they understand that there's other things in the future that we want to do. But right now, that's why we said like a phase one, because we really want to address current safety and traffic with what we have now. But hopefully, if we retain somebody, that consultant group can say, oh, hey, by the way, we do everything that this gentleman mentioned. We do not only safety and traffic, but we do environmental, we do fields, we do all of this.
And I think that needs to be
so-
the firm that we retain.
Yeah,
That does
so,
everything.
but we have to start,
So that's what you're going to
Yeah.
contact CCM,
Yes.
get names,
yep.
and move forward with that.
And about everything, not just the safety, because in the
No,
end,
I think-
in the end, we're just going to pay
No, I
a
think,
boatload of money.
I
for-
think you'll find most of those consultants
Yeah.
have people, you know it already, have different people who do the different parts.
Thank you.
Mr. Pisano, you're it.
Thank you for a second opportunity to talk. Obviously, no one wants to bring up the obvious, and the obvious, we didn't do a traffic study, and we put a playground here and soccer fields there. The question I had for this board, and Vinny's not here, it's really a question to him, is if you do a traffic study, will it be implemented? You understand the responsibility will become the town of Orange. So I'm saying you need a traffic study, and John, you may want to chime in now. The police had made some comment there, and for some odd reason, there was police cars there with a drone early in the morning the other day. Somebody made a question. They were questioning how 1,000 cars are going to come in and out of here. Nobody in their right mind would take that kind of volume down Hollow Road. So I'm just saying, obviously, I think we should talk to the police department. They know a lot more about traffic than that. I did do some research, and they want about $3,000 to do per intersection. Ozzie Parenti and the planning and zoning people see this stuff all the time. The question I have is, if a traffic study's done right now, would you do something? You would have to do it because they would tell you that it's unsafe. So my opinion is to have the study, and maybe the answer is, and that's what I'm going to be proposing to the board. You guys asked me for my emails, is long term we close Hollow Road. If the playground's going to be there, we have no Hollow Road. We have other entrances. There's a lot to be done. I've walked it all. I know every inch. You guys have not walked it all.
We drove it all.
You didn't
Little different.
You didn't drive to Peck School on the High Line, not at an angle. The wetland that was on the drawings originally that everyone complained about was a road that went into the middle of the park. You don't need to go in the middle of the park. You need to go straight line. But we'll get into all that. I can explain it. I asked everybody to put on. I challenge you for me to put on high heels and walk from the lacrosse parking lot to Peck School, and I will show you the result of my high heels. Okay? That's how certain I am about what I'm telling you. So there's other ways in, there's other roads, but obviously the concern is that we have a playground next to what is going to be on May 20th and 21st, 500 lacrosse cars in, 500 out, 300 cars roughly coming in and out for soccer. If you think that's a safe environment, I'm going to sell you a bridge in Brooklyn.
Is there anybody else? Yes, Ralph.
I think what they want to do is put together a plan for the whole park. Am I wrong in that?
No.
I think you have to do that because if you just do a safety study now of what's there, you may want to change that in 5 years or even in 2 years with other things coming along. If you do that, you're going to spend a lot more money than if you put together, you take the time, maybe you do a comprehensive questionnaire out to the people of Orange and find out what they want in that park. There's 67 acres there. Find out what they want for recreational purposes. We've already got lacrosse, soccer fields, and a playground coming in, but what are we going to do with the rest of the property? What does the town want to do with that property? I think making a road traffic study at this point is a good thing, but I think you're going to be wasting money because in 2 years, if you do something else in an area near there, you may have to restructure that road. And you don't want to keep something out because you've already got a road. I think you want to look at the whole park and say, okay, we've got 5 or 6 other main things we want to do, and we know how much area each one of those is going to be using, and how we get a road in there to service all those people. I think, and I know everybody wants to get more stuff down at Wolf Park, but I think if you just kind of rush one thing in there, and then you put another thing in there, and then you may have to change the first thing, and so on and so forth, up to maybe 5 or 6 different things. I'd like to see a whole plan put together. I think we'll come out a lot better. It'll be cheaper in the long run, and it'll give everybody a shot at it. So that's my take on it.
So Ralph, I appreciate your comments, but what I understand as far as the committee is concerned and our task was to discuss the future of Fred Wolf Park, right? And I agree that, we want to do a study which incorporates numerous things. And over the last 2 years, we've had a lot of discussion from parents talking about pickleball, tennis, basketball, additional soccer fields. That's just to name a couple things. A facility that has bathrooms and a concession stand. All of these things are discussions that the committee's having. But we have right now, a playscape being built in the park right now. And as Mr. Pisano stated, there are going to be a lot more traffic coming in starting in May. So we need to address the concerns that are in front of us right now. I don't disagree with you that our overall goal, Ralph, is to implement a master plan. It may have a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, because, listen, everybody wants everything, but when it comes down to it, if it's going to cost several $1 million, I can imagine that it's going to look frowned upon. So you have to take it in steps. But right now, at least speaking on behalf of the committee, they want to do a traffic and safety study of what we have there now But what I've heard from this board is when you're talking to these consultants, ask them if they can do a larger study, which would incorporate everything, this wish list that we have. But I just don't see any way around it unless this board says otherwise. I don't see any way around it, okay? We have what we have there now, and we have to address it. And by the way, Mr. Pisano, anything this board does, anything the committee does, I assure you, it's for the best interest of the town. So if we're going to vote on something, we're going to implement it to the best of our ability, okay? We're all concerned about the safety. Well, you and I butted heads about this. I've had kids that played on these fields. I understand the concerns you have. But it's no different than any other field. There also has to be some parent accountability of watching your kids. It can't fall all upon us. We're going to do the best that we can. I assure you that. Thank you.
Mitchell?
Yeah, I want to echo what John was saying in the beginning about, in respect to Ralph, I think John is correct. We have an issue now. We have a park that it's not a blank sheet of paper. If it was, I'd agree. We go out and do a whole big study. But it's not. We have fields. We have soccer fields. We have lacrosse fields. We have a playground being built as we speak. So I think we need to address that now so that come the spring, this summer, I think that's the intent of this committee, that if there needs to be no left-hand turn or a speed bump here or a signage there, that we get that done first, because the overall plan, which I agree we need to do, I think everybody agrees we need to do, is not going to happen in the next 2 months. Right? You know, getting a safety study could happen in a couple of months, but trying to start, branching out to put roads here and fields here and concessions here and bathrooms there and pickleball here is going to take a while. And you, John, as chairman, you've already said, your committee said you want to hear from certain constituent groups that want these particular things. That's going to take some time to get their input.
Yep.
And then to take that input and provide it to a consultant to do an overall master plan. That's going to take time. And I think it'll be time well spent. But in the meantime, as you just said, we have an issue today we need to address now. And that's what I believe is what's before us tonight.
And I think you're gonna contact CCM and through Mitch's folder he saved and start there. Once you identify what you want to do, you'll contact Ann, one of you, and she'll set up as availability allows, and
Okay.
that'll happen.
Fair enough.
That's not a hard challenge.
Okay.
To do it. I think everybody is in agreement on that. So I think at the moment, I guess I'm going to say your request is just tabled at the moment. And then I think you'll be able to do this first part depending on your availability in the committees, within a couple weeks. I don't think that would be a big challenge.
Jim, rather than table, I'd like to try a motion that the Fred Wolf Park Committee be allowed to seek a consultant for a traffic and safety study at the park and bring proposal back to the board.
That's what they're going to, that's
Right,
what.
but I'm saying make it as a motion. Like, you got it?
Allow the Fred Wolf Park Committee to proceed with
Okay.
searching for a vendor.
We have that as a motion?
Safety study and return to the Board of Selectmen for approval and have a special meeting if necessary.
Great.
Second.
All right, for discussion purposes. Mr. Nichols is back.
I guess I just realized, well, so you're saying that the playground is actually under construction? It's determined that it's going where it's going?
Yes.
I just think, personally, from what I know about this stuff, I think doing a traffic safety study at this point, when we've already decided those things, is a terrible idea.
But that's only part of it. They're going to find a consultant to do the overall development over time as part of this, what they're asking for the approval for.
my opinion, honestly, I believe it's a terrible, terrible idea for us to have this park under construction and then decide that now we want to do a traffic safety study.
But that's only one piece.
I already know what the traffic safety study, from what I know about work, is going to tell us. And it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a good idea to, again, because these are the things you take into consideration when you're designing something up front, not after the fact. So when you're designing something for use of public, you need to make sure that the intended people that's going to use it is going to use it in a safe manner. You don't design something, create hazard, and then try to rectify said hazard that you created because of your design limitations. That's what we're doing right now. So we decided we want to put a playground here. Then, now that we're already building it, we decide we want to do a traffic safety study, which is going to tell you what you don't want to hear. And now what? Then you're going to put mitigation issues to prevent someone from getting hit. And what happens when they get hit? And now the traffic study shows that you probably shouldn't have put it there in the first place.
Okay.
I think I want to say thank you very much for your opinion. And obviously, this board has been struggling and working hard to get all of this put together for over 2 years. And to now, just in your opinion, think that this is not going to work. We don't know that. That's why we're going to go out and figure it out and come up with an answer. The playground is long overdue. It's been waited. I know there's children all over this town that would just absolutely have a great time over there. And for us to keep putting things back and back and back, we're moving forward. The playground's going in. The traffic study is going to be done. The big plan is going to come together. We're going to have plenty of time to look at that. But right now, it's like anything. If we've gone down the road the wrong way, well, we're at least going to try and see if we can fix it. So let's not be negative about it until we see what we've got to deal with, and then you know that this board is going to move forward and do the very best for everybody in town, not just the soccer group, but for everybody. So let's get the process going and move along.
Okay, you have a motion and a second, right? Right, Ann? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think we
No, you don't have to abstain.
All right, then we're.
You have no personal gain in it.
All right.
So,
Yeah.
all in
You
favor?
haven't met Carangelo Shanley Consultants, have you?
That would be a pair, let me tell you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
great idea.
Unanimous.
No, of course.
Don't we go
I was going alphabetically, and in fact that he's chairman, but
All right, to consider and act on a request to approve the tax refunds totaling $12,655.20, and nobody here is on the list.
So moved.
I read it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any other discussion on it? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Unanimous. Okay. Now, is there a motion to close the regular meeting and go into executive session
So
at
moved.
8:05? Motion made. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, take a couple-minute recess. Maybe Bettina wants to talk to Mitch about his does not contribute to this state sick bank thing that they established, yes. So, okay. Okay, we're back in regular session from executive session at 8:50. We discussed the 2022 to 25 proposed labor agreement between the Town of Orange and UPSU Local 424, Unit 21, Orange Town Hall employees. We had lengthy discussion on it, and it went well, I am pleased to announce. And is there a motion to be made on this contract? Mitchell?
Motion to approve the agreement between the Town of Orange and UPSU, Local 424, Unit 21, Orange Town Hall employees for the duration of July 1, 2022, that's retroactively, through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made, and there's a second. All in favor of this? Okay, opposed, abstain, unanimous. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it, and we'll be having possibly another unit next month. Committees. We have, the only committee we have today is, because Playground Committee already, or Playground, sorry, the Wolf Park Committee already reported as a line item in the agenda. The Pension Board, Selectman Goldblatt.
Yeah, we had our meeting recently, watching everything very carefully, as you might expect. Been a rough go for the last several months as everyone watches the markets. We're holding our own, though. And as far as the town employees go, the big news right now is the fact we're transitioning all of our defined contribution plans over to Voya. There's been a few hiccups in there, but we're looking at April as being the time period for that transition to take place.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah, it is, we all hold our breath on the finances. The economy in some areas is booming, in some areas is not. But I know, in talking to the finance director, Cifarelli, that while it does have impacts on some of our retirements and funds like that, I've been told that our interest income, as projected in our town budget, has far exceeded anything that they had put into the budget. So while it hurts us on one side, it's helping us on the other. That's a good thing. So thank you all. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to tell you, and at this moment, I'm going to say a motion to adjourn at looks like 8:52.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor, done. Thank you.